Personally, so I'll start by, because I love music. I'm a big consumer of music. So I'll just start with personal. Absolutely a positive. Absolutely positive. Now, I don't own stock in Tower Records. It wasn't a public company anyway, but it wasn't a positive for the people who owned and ran Tower Records. It's not a positive for neighborhood music shops. And the personal contact and the know-how that's lost as the big music chains and the little individual shops go out of business is a real tragedy. That's a loss. There's no question about it. Especially when a specialty shop goes out of business, especially classical music or jazz shop goes out of business. That's a real loss. So that's a bad thing. But I'd still say overall, it's absolutely a positive thing. It's easier for me to find the music that I want. It's easier for me to get it. It's easier for me to get exactly the music that I want. But more importantly for me is that, it's all part of this ecosystem where the disruption, the elements that are disrupting the retail distribution chain are one part of that ecosystem that also, on the back end, by the way, helps me organize my music way better than I was able to organize it. Have it wherever I am, on whatever device I want, take it with me when I travel, keep it in multiple homes. When I think about how I listen to music now, if you took all that away and said, let's just go back to the Discman. So I've got a big wall of CDs, and then I've got my little Discman player, and that's it. My life would be, my enjoyment of music would be so heavily compromised compared to what it is now, where I can just grab my 160 gigabytes of music and take it with me. Wherever I am, I've got all the music I want on my desktop. It's just great. It's just phenomenal. I love it. And I love reading in the middle of the night. I love reading something on the internet or I love to read about classical music, reading about a piece. And my curiosity is piqued right at that moment. It's 2 a.m, but there's a Chopin piece that I just want to hear. Oh, I don't have it. I can just go out and find it. I can quickly read who did the best rendition, find like the 8 different versions that you can get, pick the artist that I like, download it, and listen to it. I love it. Well, there's 3 different categories of answers I can give for that. The first is I think the right answer, but it's probably not that interesting because it's obvious, and that's mobile. That's smartphones and tablets. Those growth curves are really just starting. So I think that they're going to continue to revolutionize how people get things done, including information and entertainment. So I think I think we're a long way from seeing the changes that those are going to bring to commerce and education, information communication. The second category is more specific to Vanedge and probably to me, but it's given the context of the talk I just gave is equally unsurprising. That's gamification. I don't think the gamification is going to be on the order of mobile. Certainly, it's not going to be like, wow, there was, we kind of measure years as sort of, BG and AG, before gamification and after gamification. That was the change. It's not going to be an era-defining change, but it's an important area. It's an area that will help companies be more competitive, and I think will be a differentiating factor in separating winners from losers. It won't be the defining technology of the age, but it's fairly important. And then the third area, and I think what you're really asking is sort of some surprising things that may not be on the radar yet that are really going to shake things up, that may not be defining investments yet. And there, to me, the most influential person I've read is Ray Kurzweil. I think that the overlapping of trends that he talks about in his book, The Singularity is Near, makes a pretty persuasive case that things are going to change in much more radical ways than we can certainly imagine right now. And the great thing about, what I find interesting about him is, you certainly don't have to agree. There's some people where you either have to, it's sort of a binary decision. There is one true God, and this is his name, and this is the people that he likes, and this is the people that he doesn't like. You either believe that or you don't. Those decisions tend to be a little bit more binary. There's other decisions that sort of paint the picture on a spectrum. And, I think that Ray Kurzweil's vision is really on that spectrum. You don't have to buy everything he's saying whole cloth to realize there's going to be fundamental changes. You can dial your level of acceptance of what he's predicting back pretty significantly and still recognize there's huge changes that are coming. Because the changes that he's talked about, specifically the three that he highlights, artificial intelligence, health sciences, particularly understanding of human genome, and nanotechnology in a number of areas, but one particular one is our ability to go and change or repair DNA. That the congruence of those, I don't think there's much of an argument that all three of those areas are growing at a very rapid pace. The surprising conclusions he comes to is then what happens when the changes in each area reinforce each other and are applied to each other, and you get some, fairly dramatic things. You don't even have to believe the very dramatic things that he's describing to recognize there's going to be massive, massive changes. One of them, for example, I think will be micro-manufacturing, both in the sense of nanotechnology, but also in the sense of very sophisticated 3D printing. I do believe that in the course of the next 5 to 10 years, and then in a more spectacular way after that, we're going to start rethinking our concept of just how things are made, how things are manufactured. I think it's going to be a complete shift for a lot of the things that we see around us. They're going to be made a different way. That'll be a shift. We were joking at dinner last night. I said, because for anybody who's had a wonderful or warm experience in a college dorm or at summer camp, this is Camp Maria Elena, this is Camp Torino. And really what I mean by that, what I find special about VUE is the audience themselves are always very warm and very receptive. It's always a great place to come as a speaker because there's such a warm reception. But what I personally value is there's always such a strong group of speakers and presenters that come to VUE. But unlike any other conference I go to, it's a fairly small group that has breakfast together, usually gets together for lunch, usually goes out for dinner. And that's where it feels like Camp Torino or that kind of the best possible experience you have in a college dorm, where you're living with people all the time. You see them like at every meal, you're doing things together, yet these are interesting world-class people that if you saw them at, say, SIGGRAPH, it'd be great, but very often it's a passing conversation for 5 or 10 minutes, and then you've got to go to the next thing, or there's a whole other wave of people. Here there's a group of about 25 or 30 people that get to know each other in the course of the week, see each other over and over and over again, and it is a combination of great professional conference and sort of a week-long dinner party that's unlike any other professional experience that I know, which is why I love coming back year after year. And just hope they don't get tired of me. I mean, the time will come. You don't get to come anymore. You've used up all your thinking. We already know what you're going to say. But, until that day happens, I love coming back.